Market is closed. Gave you the call on the phone. Oh, you home your way? I gave you a brief when I was on the phone. I was in the spot behind you. On with my mom. She is in, well, she's in Odessa, Texas, and she was calling my son's birthday tomorrow. I was in the she's in Augusta. No, she's in Odessa. I know it. They're probably good. They're probably but, so we're talking about Thanksgiving and birthdays, because 3 of our birthdays are this month, so. Mine last week, goes tomorrow, and Bob's will be in the month. This is actually, I think, Thanksgiving this year. So, this is going to find out. Wait. Next week is the last grade or whatever. So if we get him when I'm it's going to be funny instead of planning is good. Work is done. It's the are you wanting somebody to work with you? Because I can imagine, would you bring in more deal with us? Yeah, she got the little square on her phone hours ago, like an hour ago. So I can save my time. I'm figuring more than nice. She just told me. He was leaving for space because replace it. How they all go abroad now. I don't know if that started all that. I don't either. It's a crazy thing. They were already the wives anyway, she's still on her way back. But it's good. I mean, we have to make fun the ocean. So did he faint or did high fever or what? High fever. To the emergency room? I don't know how bad in there. I was in Odessa. So who are you talking about? Well, my daughter-in-law, they got her on the phone, so she called me. But she was still in Philly. She says, I'm trying to get her and take her stuff. And she said, I'll be in touch. Anyway, he's at least where he should be there. The doctors are working. I was just telling Suzie when I go over there. I go on Sunday afternoon. This is what I get for their life. That gentleman, things come out of the next week. I'm going to tell you something. It's probably just, I should hang it on the, have you seen it yet? The stainless windows. Pretty so. Last chance for coffee and pumpkin pie before we start. The gate inside. You're welcome to open it. It's nice to see everybody here today. I love it that you have stuff to talk about and everything. It's good. I even see books out being discussed. So that's good. Thanks to Jane Blackburn who brought the pumpkin pie. And I don't know, I've never seen it swirled with cream cheese before, but I think that's the best way to serve pumpkin pie. Yeah. And perhaps your daughter Heather had a little hand in helping her.
Thank you.
Thank you much.
You're welcome, and thank you all for filling in those blanks on the bringing refreshments. Yeah, appreciate it. I think it's full. Yes, you've got it, it's full. All right.
It makes life easier for Jane a whole lot, doesn't it? Yeah. Okay, join me now and we'll begin with prayer. Father, we come to you today asking your blessings for our many veterans. So many have served and given of their time and their well-being to protect our country. Only you, Lord, can fully understand what these men and women have sacrificed. May we be given a heart of love and appreciation for these brothers and sisters today and every day. May we also ask for your guidance to the Simpsons today as they share with us, and may your blessings overflow on those who are not with us and those who are. In Christ's name, amen. One thing I did want to mention, WOC has now come out with their ornaments, and I'm going to set it out here on the coffee table, so if any of you want to take a look, they're very unique this year. I love them. I think it's a great.
And after the meeting, if you'd like to buy one, I learned how to use the square, and I can take a credit card. Cash or check.
You will be available on Sunday.
And every Sunday until I'm sold out.
Yes. So, anyway, and we're honored to have the president and president-elect with us today. Okay, moving right on, we'll go straight into our review. Reverend Scott Simpson and his wife Suzie are no strangers to the literature circle. Scott's heartfelt, enlightening reviews have been many, and we love it when Suzie joins him for the review. Scott is very visible around First Pres. He oversees the deacons and the Stephen ministers, and we benefit many Sundays from his message when he preaches. Suzie also is involved in things here at the church, and I did discover that in her other circle, she's the moderator. So I know she keeps busy. A family working, it's amazing. So anyway, without further ado, we'll move right on. Scott, it's all yours.
Thank you. Thanks for that wonderful introduction. I appreciate it. Well, of all the animal books I've reviewed, I think this one takes the cake.
Or the pie.
Or the pie. Both. I'll take both. Thanks for asking me to review this book. Thank you for reading it. Fast read. Everyone has their own definition of fast when they're reading. You know that, I know that. So, I've got some information to share with you, and then a few questions at the end if you want to talk a little bit, and then we'll see where that goes. The author, Simon Van Booy, this is his fictional book called Sipsworth, tells the story of Helen Cartwright, an 83-year-old widow who returned to her home village, English village, of her childhood after 6 decades abroad in Australia. Her husband and son have passed away by this time, and she's settled into a quiet, almost purposeless existence. And she accepted that her life is winding down. Other people might say she's waiting for death to happen. The daily pattern is predictable, it's safe, it's removed. She drinks a lot of tea. I told Suzie at one point, I said, what kind of tea is it? I mean, can you drink that much tea in a day and sleep at night? But you know, it is what it is. She listens to the radio or the TV. She has very few human contacts. As I said, she's waiting for death. This line grabbed me. Perhaps it did you. I think you're going to recognize this one. Van Booy's line, each day was an impersonation of the one before, with only a slight shuffle, as though even for death there is a cue.
Beautiful.
Then something strange, small I should say first, then strange happens. Helen rescues a discarded aquarium from a neighbor's trash, and inside is, surprise, a little mouse. She names the mouse Sipsworth because of what the dainty way that the mouse would drink from an upturned bottle cap, which I think she poured the lemonade into for the mouse. From that point, the mouse becomes a catalyst for transformation. And Helen becomes responsible for another living creature. She reaches out, reluctantly at first, I would say, to a local librarian and a hardware store keeper to help with the mouse care. The mouse falls ill, and Helen's former career, I was just sharing with Becca and Robert, or maybe it was someone else, I was just floored to learn she was a pediatric cardiac surgeon. And that gets revealed in just a shocking way. It's just a turn in the book that just grabs you. So it changes, well, I'll save it for later. Over the course of about 2 weeks in the village, that's the time frame for this book. Now I don't know about you, but I was a little slow when reading the book. And I'd see, a day and I'd go, Saturday? And then I kept reading, and then I stopped, and this is how slow I am sometimes. And I put it all together. This is a 2-week period, so it's written in a very tight, concise. The narrative covers 2 weeks. Well, in that 2-week period, her world, Helen's world, expands dramatically. Her routines are disturbed. She begins to engage with the small community she came back to. She begins to care again. She begins to live rather than wait to die. Now that's a sort of a summary of the plot of the book. So purposes of this book review, I want to briefly review just a few areas. The author's writing style, just a little bit more about the setting and the framework or structure of the book. Briefly touch on some characters, maybe some themes of the book, some strengths and weaknesses, and then just wrap it all up with a final assessment. A bit about the style. Van Booy writes in the present tense, which some people say gives kind of an immediacy to you're right. smack in the middle of this story and Helen's experience. I don't know if you noticed this, but Van Booy likes to use a lot of metaphors. There's just so many metaphors. The writing style is very concise, lyrical even. He doesn't waste words. And, in his sentences, there's a lot of meaning in every word. The setting is a small English village. That's where Helen grew up as a child. And her modest cottage life. I left out the biscuits with the tea. Those go together. Here's an example of the images, metaphors, and lyrical writing. This is Van Booy's words. She bends to the cold glass, but loses the street in a sudden flower of breath. Wow, that's beautiful. A little bit about characters. I mentioned Helen. She's the 83-year-old widow. Once the pediatric cardiologist returned from Australia to English village. She is grief-ridden, quiet, resigned to death until she meets Sipsworth. That's the next character. I would have never expected a mouse would play such a pivotal role. This mouse, Helen rescued, captured, cares for. I said what the name comes from. Symbolically, this small creature ignites a lot of transformation and change in Helen's life and in the story, in the narrative itself. That's worth paying attention to for later when we talk about themes. Cecil Parks, local hardware store keeper. I don't know if everyone likes the local hardware person, but that's kind of like the barber. Or, they know what's going on. If you want to get a little therapy or counseling, go see your barber, go see your local hardware guy or gal. Begins this interaction with Helen. She comes to him for, at first she wants to get rid of the mouse. And she gets the glue boards, or is that what they're called? The glue boards. She ends up being the mouse and steps into both and loses her. I don't know, it's her shoes, house shoes. They get glued to the floor. She didn't like that. That was a turning point. Demonstrates kindness and empathy. So there's some connection that's happening there with at least one person in the community. Now this is not fast paced. This is gentle. It evolves. It just kind of unfolds gently and consistently. Then there's the librarian and her son Dominic. You remember those two? Provides further connection. Helen visits the library, wants to learn more about how to take care of mice. I remember the librarians, the way Van Booy puts it when Helen asks for help with, I'm looking for books, and the librarian, Van Booy kind of describes, you're looking for what? It's a sign, I think, of her opening up, interacting with the librarian and even the son. Then there's, I hope I'm pronouncing the name correctly, Dr. Jamal, the cardiologist, young cardiologist Helen meets when she goes to the hospital, and there's the mouse crisis. Dr. Jamal helps with supplies for the mouse, and Van Booy uses Dr. Jamal to reveal Helen's past expertise as the cardiac surgeon. Then there's others that are really unmentioned, but should be. They're supporting characters. The house, the neighbors, the townscape of the village, they're the background, but they help paint a picture of Helen's isolation and then her reconnection or reintegration back into the community. So those are the characters. some themes. The first, I kind of cover a number in this first section: loneliness, grief, aging, invisibility. She believes she's invisible. But she also understands, and Van Booy makes sure we all understand just how isolated she really is. And it's central to the story. He captures the sense of an older person feeling that life has ended, that happiness has turned against them. Is a great line. The cruel paradox of human existence. Not that you die, but that all happiness eventually turns against you. Helen's sense of invisibility and having nothing left to give, I think, is just brilliantly portrayed in the story. The second theme, motif section, unexpected connection and second chances. Now we're talking about hope, second chances. Here comes Sipsworth, the mouse. It's totally unexpected. She even describes Sipsworth as being, he seems to be, do you remember this when she describes, he looks like he's an older mouse. You know, his hair is like a child's hair, but it's got the gray look and the eyes are kind of, don't be afraid. Helen didn't want to adopt a pet. She did not plan to open up. At first, you heard her boundary lines. What was she doing? This mouse does not belong in the house. You belong outside with the rest of nature. That's my words. And she stuck to that for quite a while. But then this small creature becomes an open door for her reopening, or better said, a hinge. This raises the theme that life can surprise us even at the end, and that connection, even the very unlikely connection, can heal grief, redeem, and ultimately give hope. Small actions, this is the third motif. Small actions have ripple effects. This novel is about small-scale events. If you don't like a book that focuses on small-scale events, you like big plots and, you know, that thicken and thicken like your favorite gravy on the stove, and you're not going to like this book. This novel is about small-scale events. Feeding a mouse. Who wants to do that? Going to the local library. Talking to the hardware store keeper. But all these small events have huge impact for Helen. Ramifications for her internal life and the world she inhabits. Here's some words that I think the story takes place, I'd call it in private spaces. Spaces you don't, well, you know, they're there, but we don't know about everybody else's private space and what goes on. And it focuses on events that on the surface appear small in scale, but have these far-ranging consequences and meaning for human and non-human beings. Fourth area, work and identity. Helen's past, mentioned this before, as a pediatric cardiologist is revealed. It marks that her life had meaning. So suddenly you're going, wait, this is a huge shift. And that she had done important work. The resurfacing of that past plays into how she later responds to the mouse's crisis. And you remember the crisis of the mouse. This underscores the theme of identity, and that even when one is retired or feels done, I have nothing left to give. There may still be purpose in new life, connections, and community that go way beyond the pain of loneliness, grief, and isolation. And then my favorite, the human-animal bond. This relationship, this bond develops slowly. But it happened. The relationship between Helen and Sipsworth is central. I remember, I don't know if it was midway in the book where There's one place where the mouse climbs onto her hand. Do you remember that? And she takes it to a sitting area, and she's talking to the mouse. And she's beginning to remember and share things with the mouse. The mouse can't respond, but she's talking with the mouse. So there's a relationship that's developing. The bond literally forces Helen to care. She was forced to crawl over her own boundary lines about what she thinks about this mouse named Sipsworth, to open up. It's unlikely friendship between the two. So those are the themes. What are some strengths of the story? Well, I don't know about you, but this book really rippled with emotional resonance. It touches on themes of grief, aging, need for connection in a way that feels gentle and genuine rather than harsh and manipulative. And I can swallow that. I don't know about you, but that's easier to hear. Characterization of Helen. She's not merely a sad old woman. She has a rich background, profession, and inner life. And her transformation, for me, it feels earned. Writing quality. Van Booy, I've never heard of it before. First time. Open this book. This is what I do. I look at the book. I read the back. I read the insides. I do a quick review. That's when I was talking about the days mentioned. I'm going, okay, now it's time to read. His writing, he's a gifted writer. It's no surprise when you look at the books he's written, and fiction, nonfiction, children's fiction, no surprise. He's an excellent writer. It's very praiseworthy. It's 237 pages, something like that. It's slim, but he maximizes the sentences that carry a lot of volume and weight. Subtle humor and tenderness. I shed some tears toward the middle, end of the book, at the beginning a lot, because I see this a lot. What Helen's, and I hear this story a lot as one of your pastors. But it's funny, there was some times in the book where I giggled, and so it was a subtle humor. I won't call it dry humor, it's just subtle and tender, very tender. It has some heavy themes, but it's funny. So this heavy theme stuff is balanced with the humor and the tenderness. That's not easy to do. You can stay stuck on talking about the heavy stuff and people are going, So those are strengths. Are there any limitations or weaknesses? Nobody likes to talk about those, So I sort of touched on this earlier, but the pace and the scale of the book or the story, if it seems too small and too slow moving to you, you may not like the book. You may go, well, I'm going to go get another cup of coffee, and you never come back to the book. You just leave it there. And that's probably your conscience talking. If you're an adventure person, a high action person, you want dramatic plot twists, you're going to be disappointed with this book. You'll be disappointed. Limited cast, limited setting. Now, I don't know, how many characters did I review? About 6 or 8? I didn't compare that to any other books y'all have asked me to read, or any books. Suzie reads way more books than I do. I don't know how many. What's a good number of characters in a story? Well, it depends what the book is. But it's confined to Helen's world and a few local townspeople. So it's kind of like, maybe that's a little bit too insular, and where's the context going with this? Let's make it a little broader. What are the connections in the world? So those are a couple of weaknesses, limitations. Final assessment. Sipsworth is a reminder that stories of late life, of small lives, of quiet renewal, of connections and community, of healing and hope, are always worth telling and worth reading. It gently invites us to consider what we still have to give, what we still can open ourselves up to, even when we think our chapter is closed. The choice of a mouse as a companion of a modest setting and time frame builds the idea that big change doesn't always need big events. It sometimes arrives in a tiny creature's sip of water and an old woman's willingness to care. That's a book review. So I have some questions for you. I've got several, but I'll just pick. Why do you think Helen chooses to rescue the fish tank and thereby the mouse? What does the tank represent to you and to her? Do you remember that part of the book?
I think it was memories of her son.
That's right. Yeah, because what did she talk about when she was talking about the fish tank? There was some toys that reminded her of her son's life, and that's where she was reflecting and reminiscing on her son's life. And the mouse, how does that connect to the fish tank? We have a couple of fish tanks at our house that housed lizards when the boys were little. The lizards didn't make it, they died. They get sick and they die quick. You know, so there's a place in the backyard, there's a 2x4 that's slowly every year is getting smaller and smaller just because of the weather. But that's where we held a memorial service for the lizards. Well, the mouse is small and a humble creature. What is the importance of making a mouse rather than a dog, cat, or a human friend, Helen's companion and catalyst? What do you think? Ellen?
Where she had been a cardiologist and a surgeon and just in the middle of things, just quite a career.
Yes.
I think the mouse was like the intricate part, like the heart, the little part. The mouse was little. It was intricate. It needed a human touch.
Yeah. That's good.
And I think it was so tied to her son, who preceded her in death, because he wanted a mouse.
Yes.
That's right. That's right. That's a good
That's
connection.
a pet.
Yes, that's a good connection to remember, and it's true. The novel deals, as I said, with aging, loss and grief, loneliness or invisibility. I think that's a more powerful word. And purpose. What does it suggest about late life renewal and hope? Is Helen's change realistic, sudden, believable? What do you think? Is it possible? Yeah. We can go without eating. We can go without drinking, both for a little while, but none of us can go without hope. None of us. Every one of us needs hope. And I think that plays a huge role about Helen's change. And it's unexpected. And isn't that the sweetest kind of hope, the unexpected hope that we all are waiting on the edge of our seat for in our life? I commented on, well, no, I didn't. Suzie did. So I'm bringing Suzie into this one. The ending is quiet and gentle. Did you notice that? Helen returns. The mouse is gone. Helen has opened up. Now, Suzie reminded me that do you remember that the mouse did come back and scratches on the door, taps on the door? Isn't that what you reminded me of? Because I had kind of forgotten about that. I thought, the mouse is gone, you know. Do you find, was this satisfying to you, the way it is? Easier to hear? Did it make you smile? Yeah, kind of a warm feel. I can't forget this. What does the book say about the value, the meaning of caring, even for something small or insignificant? How might that apply to our own lives? Am I encouraging you to care for a mouse in your house? No, I think I would act probably a similar way as Helen did, you know. But the value of caring, that has me. That was a gentle shift for Helen. You know, how she was correcting the hardware guy. You know, without being harsh, but she wanted to be. I mean, I think she did get hard, kind of. Well, she got real. She said, "It's brutal," you know. And the guy didn't understand what she was talking about. I mean, he was like, "Okay, if you say so." Do you have any questions? Those are my questions.
Scott,
Yeah, correct.
I have a confession to make.
Okay.
In reading it, when I got to the part that we found out who she was,
Yeah.
it shocked me.
Mm-hmm.
And I admit that's my shortcoming. Why shouldn't she have the same needs of anybody else?
Sure.
Why does it matter how much education she had or what job she had? And of course, we have an indication as she starts to take care of it.
Yep.
She was knowing quite a bit about this little creature and, you know, checking to see if he, you know, breathing and everything. I thought, that's, what's going on here? But anyway, I have to admit that and I thought about it, I thought, she's as free to suffer from grief, to need a relationship as any other person. It doesn't matter who we are, what our background is,
Yeah.
we are still subject to those same feelings, given the right circumstances.
That's true. Thank you for your confession and honesty. Yeah, and it's true. I think we are. Some of us may know what that feels like. Maybe others don't. I don't know. You know, it's just Nancy.
Was the mouse a Stephen minister? Of sorts.
Good, of sorts.
He was a good listener.
Great listener. Good listener. Great listener. I think somewhere I saw a picture. Am I making that up? A picture of the mouse? Not in the book. I mean, there's no pictures, but I must have saw it some other place. I don't know. They all look the same. But this one's special. Ellen, yeah.
I also enjoyed the notion of when you're in your sunset years, which we are, not everybody in the room, but
That's a good word.
I am, a lot of us are, what you choose to spend your time with.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And she had such an amazing career.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, you know what? It's hard to put the brakes on.
Mm-hmm.
I know I went through that.
Mm-hmm.
Big career, global leadership, and all of a sudden,
I
I'm
understand.
retired. You know, and she was very brave
She was.
going back to England. Oh my goodness.
After 60 years?
Oh, very brave. So I
After 60 years.
thought, that, as Grace said, the grief part, but also the hope and that you pick something to spend your time on
Mm-hmm.
that will give you joy.
Mm-hmm. I was giving a talk last night, Shelley knows this, about how to care for people who are grieving. And it was deacon focused. So that was after you left. And I shared with someone, I don't remember who it was, they seemed to know that, oh, I know who it was. It was Whit Anderson after the session meeting. He was commenting on, he talked about at the dinner, the mission trip that was taken to Turkey. And he was highlighting Sishan Ziv, his place on the trip. And those of you who don't know Sishan, you should get to know him because he's pretty amazing. But he lost his wife to cancer, and I happened to be there the day. It was a Saturday. Suzie was making barbecue sandwiches in the kitchen and phoned me, and it was Martha calling me, asking me to come to Northeast Baptist. She needed to ask me a question. I said, I'll put on my shoes, I'll be right there. And when I arrived, there were 2 hospice people in her room. And I said, I don't want to interrupt. And they said, oh no, we knew you were coming. Come on in. And they left. And I said, here I am. What is your question? And she said, how do I tell the doctor I don't want to do this anymore? She doesn't want to fight her cancer. And I said, you look, I don't know if your doctor's male or female, whichever. You look them in the eye and you tell them the truth. And she said, but I got to tell Sishan first. And so I said, how can I help? Can you call him and ask him to come? Sure. He heard my voice. He was listening to the tone of my voice. And he asked me the question. He said, is everything okay? And I said, it will be. It will be. And so Sishan shows up. He comes to the bed. He takes off his cowboy hat. And he listens to Martha tell him what she wants to do. And then he takes me out to the lobby. And he's got tears streaming down his eyes. And he said, I just want to ask you one question. Can you walk with me on my grief journey? I said, of course I will. Well, I'll tell you what, for someone who believed that life was over for him, who had so much similar to Helen, he was at that place where he thought it was all over with, and he walked through it, and then he discovered at the very end, I told him this day was coming, I just didn't know when it was going to come. Something spectacular was going to happen, and the sun was going to shine. And I'm not talking about the way the sun's shining outside, I'm talking about the S-O-N shining, Jesus. Well, Jesus showed up, and I was signing birthday cards, a big stack of birthday cards in my office on my desk, and I heard I turned around, and Sishan had this huge smile on his face. We're about to have a grief session, and he's smiling. I'm going, oh, there he is. You got to come in here and tell me why you're smiling. And he sat down, and I just listened, and he just said, I don't know what happened. I woke up, and I just felt better. I felt lighter. The ocean went down. That's how he described it. And I said, well, what's next? What's next? And he goes, I need your help with that. And so we talked about building Martha's legacy. And that's what he started doing. He built her legacy. He did amazing things to continue to celebrate her life. And he still does that today. So he goes on mission trips. That's one of the things he does. He's a big fan of family, faith. I think Ron Skates walked him, discipled him faithfully. About the same time I was walking with him through his grief. But I learned a lot from Sishan and that experience. As painful as it was, we went through boxes of tissue. I told Jamie, I said, you got to keep it stacked in here because I'm going to need it. Because he's, well, I didn't say Sishan, I just said, I need the boxes of tissue. And in the end, talk with Sishan today, and you ask him what was the thing that transformed him, it's the little moments of caring that he was shown, but not by just me, but by other people. And they understood how hard it was. And he knew he was still loved and still felt connected to a community that loved him. But the best of all, he has a Lord and Savior who loves him, the most. Wonderful man. Blessing, blessing, blessing. So that's what made me remember when I was, I've never asked him if he had, he's moved out of the great big house into his White House. If you've ever been over to his house, he's got all his rooms named the old room. It's pretty cool. He'll give you a tour, and then he'll feed you some Cambodian food. And, he's just a great sense of humor. Thanks for asking me to review this book. Thanks for listening, for sharing. I look forward to the next one.
Thank you very much, Scott. As always, we walk away with good thoughts and things to think over. Thanks again, Scott.
You're welcome.
Now I'm going to ask Ellen, our publicity, Ellen Fraser, to come up. She has a few words she wants to say about her lovely book.
Thank you. That was emotional. I just wanted to take a couple minutes to let you know the book is available, but I only have a few available at the moment. You can see me afterwards if you'd like to have one. I have a couple. I do have quite a few that are available that are promised to pay people who 2 years ago, this has been going on for 2 years now, said they wanted one. I don't know whether they do anymore, but the book is intentionally a coffee table type book with pictures and prayers, and it has a page for Dr. Zubin, because of course this is looking back 50 years when he was our senior pastor. And quite a few of the pictures I took, including the pictures that are from the old bulletins, which I enjoyed going through the old bulletins. Those old construction paper bulletins and manual typewriters where, they're typing and it hits the paper in a different way. The P, if you have a strong finger, looks differently. But let me know if you're interested. I do have a couple. I also am starting a wait list. We are going into the second printing. But I do have a couple available, and any of these promise to pays that don't come through, I definitely will sell those. So thank you for all very, very much, and thank you all for believing in our church. I'm very confident in our church, all to the glory of God. Thank you very much, and thank you for your leadership of all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Ellen. I'm sure you're willing to, if the others go, to start to get that waiting list started.
Exactly. Anybody
So
want,
you
I'll
know
just
who's
be
gonna
right
want
here.
them if they're left.
Thank you so much, Grace.
Okay, well, it's almost Thanksgiving time too, isn't it? Can you believe it? Here we are at Thanksgiving. Have a wonderful holiday, everyone. In December, it is, let's see, what's the date? I don't know. Who knows the date?
I've got it. December 9th, best Christmas pageant ever.
Yeah. Our own Sheila will be here reviewing, so we all want to come and hear what she has to say. And then it'll be Christmas, and then we'll be starting the new year in January. Can you believe it? Take care, everyone. Stay healthy. If you're traveling, why, hopefully, I don't know. I hope the planes are all flying when we get into holiday travel. That would be easier, wouldn't it? Take care all, and happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you.